Hi guys, assalamu alaikum, welcome to my channel. I'm Shelter. You may know me as Brown Girl Does Makeup. Thank you for clicking on my video. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and give my videos a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. So today I'm doing the last part of my eyeshadow collection declutter video. And this section is going to be the hardest section because they're the three that I don't actually want to declutter. They're my Pat McGrath collection, my Huda Beauty collection, and my Natasha Denona collection. And I've laid out my Huda Beauty one because I know for sure I don't want to declutter any of my Huda Beauty palettes. I think these are all her large ones and I only have two of her small ones, which is fine. You know, and I do kind of wish I did collect all her eyeshadow palettes, especially the small ones as well, because I think I would have, if I had those, I probably would have gotten rid of a lot more of the other individual brands that I have. But it is what it is, it's fine, no regrets. I have a beautiful collection and I love it, so I'm definitely not getting rid of any. My goal is to see what I have in my Natasha Denona collection that I could potentially declutter and potentially declutter from my other parts of my collection, because I just worked out that so far in the videos I've done I had 72 palettes and I've decluttered 34 and I'm keeping 39, which is good because it's almost half of my collection being decluttered of my other palettes. But a part of me thinks I need to do a bit more. But then I had this realization when I was counting it and I realized that it actually quite, I don't know if anyone else feels like this who does this sort of thing, but it hurts a little bit when I see the amount of stuff that I'm getting rid of and how much I've spent, etc. Like, obviously the money, like, it's gone, but what hurts is that I feel like I was quite wasteful, but also I feel like I'm letting go a part of me that I don't know if I am ready to let go yet. But at the same time, I know I'm not using the palettes regularly and there's so many people in my life that could get use out of them, and it's for the best. And in this way I can use these ones, my Pat McGrath, my Hudas, my Visearts and stuff, you know. So I need to be positive about it, but it's hard at the same time, if you understand what I mean. So that's the longest intro I've done in this series. I'm just gonna start having a look at the palettes now. Before I go through the palettes, I'm just gonna say I might have another video at the end of this one because there are some stragglers of stuff I've missed and I wanted to put them all together, and it's going to be a mixture of stuff. I'm going to put them all together into one last video, and then I might just do another video of just looking at everything that I have decluttered one more time. But I'm not 100% sure on that, because if I look at stuff I'm going to want to keep it, so part of me is like, don't look at anything, just declutter it so you don't keep it. So let me get some of these Natasha Denona palettes and then I can have a look. So this is the Mini Zendo palette, and as you can see, it is a really beautiful palette. These are very wearable shades, and I do have sort of similar shades in many of my Huda Beauty palettes. Whether I can part with this, I don't know, because I do, although I don't support her and I don't want to promote her on my channel or anything, I can use it in my own personal time. But as you can see, there's so much other palettes that I can actually still use, and I'd rather focus on them. But at the same time, her palettes are really expensive and her formula is really nice, so I don't know what to do. I'm actually really torn on whether I should get rid of them or not, or because I know, like, I have people that could use them and with me it's just sitting there and used on and off every now and again. So I could potentially declutter this one, especially it's like very similar to the new nudes from Huda Beauty. In her old classic palettes there are very similar colors. and I know I have them in my other palettes over there, you know, like the Anastasia's, the Charlotte Tilbury's and stuff. So what do I do, guys? What do I do? I'm gonna put this to the side and make a decision after. This is a mini retro palette. This one is actually, even though it's like pinks and sort of like a cool tone grey, this is slightly unique to my collection. So a part of me is like, maybe I shouldn't get rid of this one, because if you see, just looking at the Huda Beauty palettes, it's not very similar to any of the actually it's quite similar to the Pretty Grunge palette. Like there are, because the Pretty Grunge palette is quite cool, but the shades aren't exact. I mean, the tone's similar, but the shades aren't exact. So I think I will keep this one. And this is the Midi Zendo palette. I'll be honest with you, this was my least favorite palette out of all her palettes. I didn't like the formula on these greens. They were very patchy. They didn't really blend well. They didn't sit well. I actually didn't like this, but I still can't part with it. I don't know if I should keep it or not, so I'm gonna put this to the side again and put this in the maybe. So this is the Sunrise palette, and it looks like this. I don't have anything, well, I do have something similar in my collection, but no, I decluttered it. I decluttered the Sleek palette that was very similar to this. So I'm gonna keep this one. Actually, I'm just gonna keep all my midi palettes because I do like these ones. Now this Safari one, I know the color story isn't what we have in Huda Beauty. Well, all these shades are not in Huda Beauty's palettes, but I don't use these shades. And also this palette was fine, it was okay, but it wasn't the best, so I think I'm gonna declutter this one. Also, I didn't pay full price for this one. I actually got it really discounted because I think it was when they were discontinuing it, so it cost me like 20, nearly 20, just under £30 for this palette, so I'm okay with getting rid of that one. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think I can part with these two as well, so I'm just gonna leave it be. Maybe one day I can part with them, but today isn't the day. So here is all my Pat McGrath palettes. It looks like a lot, it really does, but it's not. It's actually just packaging that makes it look like a lot. This one I can't keep open because it's that weird packaging. I was trying to see if I have this in any of the palettes, but I don't, so I'm going to end up keeping this. And just quickly, these two are this one's the Decadence palette, I think. Yeah, so this is the Decadence palette, and I thought the shades were the same, but that purple doesn't look like it's in here. This purple actually isn't in the Decadence palette, and I'll be honest with you, do I want to keep this little one just for one shade? Yes, I do. I kind of do, but I also don't. And I'm thinking, is it similar to the Star Wars palette here? If it is similar, I might just declutter that little one. Oh, it has to be different, doesn't it? This is really annoying because all these shades are in the Decadence palette except for this one purple one, and I've swatched all the purples, and this is the one in the mini palette. That's the Star Wars one. This is this palette, and that's the, I can't remember the name of it. And then this is the one from that holiday collection over here, and they're all different. So do I keep this little palette just for the sake of that one purple? So what I've decided is I am going to keep the palette just for that one shade, because I keep looking at it and I really like it. It's a very stunning shade, but what I'm going to do is have a look at my other palettes and see if I can declutter something from there. There's not much I can declutter from that side because I've already decluttered everything that I am happy to let go of, but I'm gonna have another look because potentially the Tarte ones and the Juvia's Place ones I could declutter, and I'm also thinking the Naked Reloaded and the Too Faced I might declutter as well, and potentially the Melt one, only because I've looking at this, like I can see a lot of those colors in these palettes, in the Huda Beauty palettes, in my Natasha Denona palettes, over and over again. And a part of me is like, actually I don't really need to keep those, so potentially, but then I might second think that one. And this is the mini of the Sublime palette, which is, no, not that one. I should have put the boxes underneath the palettes so I know which is which. So Sublime's this one, which I'm gonna just have a look at the card that gives you the names of the shadows to see if there's any. Oh, I just dubbed that shadow. Oh, it's alright. I'm just gonna have a look at the card to see if there's any of the same ones in here. This is harder than I thought. I thought I was at least going to declutter those two minis, but now I don't think I'm going to declutter anything. I have a think about it. Let me just have a look at the others now. So I've kind of neatened up the palettes a little bit so you can see them properly. I had a quick look at the shot I did before, and there were some palettes you couldn't really see. Obviously the Opulence one, I think that's it was for Chinese New Year, Golden Opulence. I can't keep it open, so I'm just going to leave it there and refer to it later. I grabbed a pile of palettes. I think I'm really going to struggle with trying to figure out whether I want to declutter these or not. And I know I have no commitment to, but a part of me is like, if everything I have here right now is what I have, I feel like I could potentially use every single one of them at some point. Right, and I know the pile I have isn't much. If I just grab it, so this is the pile I have. So it's basically all my Tarte palettes and these three. So there's the Melt, Too Faced, and the Urban Decay, and like I said, all my Tarte palettes. If I was to get rid of all of these, that's 9 palettes decluttered, because I know these are quite similar to what I have right in front of me now. That's excluding my Huda Beauties and the Natasha Denonas that I decided to keep. And potentially I could get rid of more, because I know there are colours in my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes and my Juvia's Place palettes. But the Juvia's Place ones, they are very sentimental to me, because I mentioned my husband bought me them, and they represent a certain time in my life, so I don't want to get rid of those. I do really like these color stories, so I'm kind of like torn on whether I should get rid of them, but I'm gonna open them up and have a look now after rambling on so much. So this is the Melt Cosmetics palette in Rusted. Now, as you can see, I think this is the bronze one. Is this the bronze? Yeah. So this one has similar shades. I don't know if you can see that, so it's that, but it's slightly lighter. This one has a bit more depth to it, and then you got obviously some of the shades here, they're more neutral leaning though. The only thing that's missing in my Pat McGrath collection is the yellow, the mustard color. That's the only thing missing. And I'm just having a think, do I have a mustard like this in any of my other collections? And to be honest, I think I don't. I think the only palette that I have a yellow in is one of the Natasha Denona palettes, and it's not really this sort of mustard kind of color. The other one is Sultry, but that's like a grungy yellow. It's not this like mustard yellow, so I might just keep this. I know it's only for one shade, but I've decluttered loads. I've decluttered 34 palettes. I never thought I'd declutter 34 palettes. 35 I think so far. So I feel like I've done a good job. And then we have the Too Faced Born This Way palette. This is the first one they took out, and this formula is apparently much better than the second one they took out. And I do really like this for like everyday looks. And you can see a lot of the colours are very similar to what I have in my Pat McGrath collection. But the difference with the Pat McGrath, like special shades and the metallics, they are far superior than the Too Faced one. So what I did was I swatched this gold one, this pinky gold, and this one here. I'm gonna put it down there. So here we are with the gold one. So this is like a peachy gold, so it's this one here, but it translates like a frosty gold on me. And then these are from Pat McGrath palettes. So you can see like this one's more of a topper. This is the classic. So the second gold swatch is your classic gold that you tend to see quite often in Pat McGrath palettes, but they're slightly different. And then the next one is more of a white gold, and then you've got the topper gold. So just there alone, they are different obviously. The Too Faced one is more of an icy sort of gold, and it is a bit of a topper as well. It's not like a opaque formula. And then I swatched this one, which is in the middle here, and that's like a duochrome pink to gold shift from Pat McGrath. And the other one is another gold one that's sort of like a wet look, I mean pink rose gold type thing. It's got loads of sparkles. I just prefer it. It looks wet, whereas the Too Faced one looks just metallic. And then this is that darker one here, and that's more of a, which is this one, and it's less opaque, as you can see. It's quite sheer, and I've picked this one here from Pat McGrath, and this one's like a lot more opaque and a lot more glimmery glitzy. So, and I know like price wise it's completely different, because if I've just picked shades from the Mothership palettes and they're 120 odd pounds, and this one was like, I think it was like 40 something, 50 pounds roughly. So these are double the price of that, and you're getting more in this than you are of that. So this has 8 grams and this has over 10 grams in per palette. So you are paying a lot more, yes, double the price. You get a little bit more obviously, and the formula is far superior to this one. So I'm actually gonna declutter this one, because as you can see, I have it all over Pat McGrath, I have it all over Huda, I have it in Charlotte Tilbury, even some colors. I could say I have some of the colors in Vizia, in Anastasia Beverly Hills and stuff. So I'm going to declutter this one. So another one was the Naked palette, and it's this one, and obviously I did compare it to the Sultry palette, and the Sultry palette is slightly different. It feels more punchy, and I won't ever declutter the Sultry palette because I think that's one of my favorite cool tone palettes I have. But like I said, like I have this coral color in the Pat McGrath, I have it in Huda, I have it in Sultry, and the Sultry one's punchier than this one. And then these shades again, you can see it all in just the Mothership palettes alone. I'm not even talking about the holiday releases or the limited edition releases there. And like these ones you can kind of get a lot in the other palettes that I own. So the Textured Neutrals, my Charlotte Tilburys, and my Anastasia Beverly Hills. So I think I will declutter this one as well. Then out of my Tarte palettes, I like the travel size ones. I think they're really handy, so I don't really want to declutter those, but it's these 4. I feel like I could declutter these, but then I decluttered the other ones, the Unleash and the Holiday Release, and I decluttered a couple of palettes that had these sort of turquoisey blues in them because I had it in the Remix palette. And in the Pat McGrath collection alone, I don't actually have any turquoisey blues. Most of the blues are, let me just swatch them actually. So in the Remix palette, I only swatched these 3 colors here, so that's them. So this one, then this one. I'm gonna have a look at what I have, even in the holiday collection and the limited edition collections and stuff, and I'm gonna see if there's anything similar to those 3. If there isn't, I'm definitely going to keep this one. Kind of looked at to have the most similarities to these 3 Tarte shades, These ones are the most similar, and then that one's completely different. That's just an emerald green. So I got this one and this one. This one's, both of these are from that holiday palette over there, and both of these are from this palette here in the corner as well. So in the Mothership palette, I don't think there's anything that kind of suits this. Well, in the Mothership palette there is that one. This is the Decadence palette, and that's very similar to this middle shade, but it's more punchier, more brighter, more like, so it's more loud you know, in your face, whereas the Tarte ones are a bit muted. So that's good. That's like for all the shades across the board. Like, I feel like these formulas are so much more punchier and more vibrant, more glitzy. They're special shades for a reason. You know, if like, I may not wear these colors every single day, but they're really stunning. And when you want to wear something like that, you want it to be stunning. You don't want it to be muted and bland and boring. And to be honest, even the Tarte ones are really nice, and this is my problem, like, I can't find like fault in these. So I'm a bit like, do I keep the palette, do I not keep the palette? I think I'm going to keep the palette, and then if I haven't used it within a few months, I may just declutter it. I might just do my weekly makeup baskets again, where I used to choose one palette and use it for the whole week. So then that way I get usage out of all my palettes. Well, there's only 52 weeks, so I'll only get usage out of 52 palettes. But the problem with that is I don't wear makeup every day, so I don't know how well that will go. Whereas before I used to wear makeup every single day, because I went into office Monday to Friday, and then on weekends I usually go out, so it was easy to do that. But now it's like really difficult. Okie dokie. So I have these other Tarte palettes that I could potentially declutter. Whether I will, I don't know. So this is the Tarte's Pro palette, and that's what it looks like. And obviously it's very common in collection to have similar, so like here you've got similar there. This one's a bit brighter and lighter, this one's a little bit darker. And then you've got, I think the Star Wars collection might be similar to sort of this vibe here. So this is the Tarte's Pro palette, and I've got, as you can see, it kind of similar to a lot of these shades and shades in Huda Beauty and all my other ones. And these metallics are slightly muted. They're not like punchy, but I kind of like that for every day. And I just swatched all the matte shadows. My swatches are a little bit all over the place, sorry rather, but then you group them together, they look quite nice. Like, this whole row is one look, this whole row is another look, you know. And I think that's the intention of this palette, that you don't have to really think about it. So like, one day I can do 4 different looks in a week, you know, and not have to think about it, like mixing this with this or this with this or whatever, you know. Always, I don't know, like with blacks in palette, like I don't always gravitate to them, but lately I've been doing softer wings with like liner pencils and stuff like that, so it might be handy. So I'm gonna keep this one too. I'm not gonna part with it. As full disclosure, I don't think I'm gonna part with these either, so I'm just gonna put them back to the side. So out of this whole section of palettes, I only decluttered 3, albeit these 2 were part of the other part of my palette collection, and this is practically the only one I have. And I knew it was going to be difficult because these are my favorite brands, Huda Beauty, Pat McGrath, and used to be this one, but not anymore. So it is really difficult, and I would love to continue collecting her palettes. And the moment I have a bit of disposable income, I am going to consider buying the other palettes that I'm missing. And same with Huda Beauty, I want to support her as much as possible, so I'm going to, you know, do what I can to try and purchase her palettes and stuff. But yeah, I'm okay with that, it's perfectly fine. So these are the ones I'm going to be decluttering, and there's 37 palettes there, which isn't bad actually. Well, I have 115 palettes altogether, and I'm keeping 78 and I'm decluttering 37. I know it's not half or anything like that, but to be honest, like, I'm fine with that. And hopefully maybe next year I will consider to declutter some more. I may even gain more, I don't even know. I know what I'm like. But if you have stayed to this part of the video, I know it's a bit of a long video, this one. It was a little bit more difficult than the others. Let me know in the comments down below how you would cope with decluttering so many eyeshadow palettes and some of your memories that go along with them. Because, you know, like my Too Faced ones, the gingerbread ones, I bought in Debenhams in store, and there's no more store now, you know. Like, I know things change and we have to get used to change and stuff like that, but at the same time it's like, these are memories. But as I said, I need to start letting go of things and not be so much of a hoarder. So yeah, I hope the people I give them to enjoy them, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.